All right, Tom Leyden joins me now in studio. Tom, you and I both agree that let's just start with the fact that Brady could have and should have handled this better.
So, knowing we were going to tape this segment, I honestly felt compelled to watch the whole first episode of the show, which is called Living with Yourself. It's a Paul Rudd show. Because I know 95% of you probably won't do that. And you're only making this judgment based on what you've seen, which, in my world, honestly, after having seen it, spoke for itself. Because it is what it is. The inference is what the inference is. So the fact that Tom Brady's camp allowed that to happen, if they saw it, or it happened without their knowledge, it put Tom in the position yesterday, to at least explain it. I shouldn't have had to watch the episode today to get some sort of clarity. He had the opportunity yesterday to say, like, let me explain what this is all about, because I obviously understand that it's being misconstrued. Tom Brady's not perfect, but I don't think he should have come out wagging his finger yesterday. And I understand that there's a lot of water under the bridge with some media members in town, but it was an opportunity for him to explain what it's all about, which is basically a guy who's down on his luck, who goes into this spa to, in essence, begin a better life. And it's all about cloning. At the end of the day, it's about cloning. It's called Living with Yourself. Well, so I'm getting into it too much, but I think you need to understand the context of it. Right. But Tom shouldn't have been wagging his finger yesterday.
Well, I agree with that. And the thing that disappoints me is that Brady should know better. I mean, look, you and I are in the public eye. We've experienced stuff like this. Hey, Kurt Schilling, how you doing? But all kinds of stuff has gone on. And it's a weird feeling when a story takes on a life of its own, especially on social media now, and how you have to handle it. And sometimes there's no going back. But Tom, I mean, Tom's 10 million times the celebrity or public figure that we are. So you're right, he should have known better of how this was going to be perceived, acknowledged it. He did his best to do that, but he could have done better.
I don't think anyone's even suggesting that Tom would do this on purpose to Robert Kraft, and he took it as a personal insult. That, like, how could you even think that I would do this to Robert Kraft after 20 years? That wasn't it. I think what we were all looking for with some sort of clarity was, did you know that this was going to be the case? If you did know that this was going to be the case, did you think it was going to be taken in the context that 99% of the people in America have taken it? And he didn't go that route, and he got a little bit angry. And it's funny because some people were like, good for Tom Brady. I'm glad he stood up for himself. And I guess I understand that, and I don't dislike him, nor do I think that he handles every situation perfectly, and I just don't think he handled this situation perfectly.
All right, let's talk about what effect, if any, this has on the game on Monday night. I'll take a shot at that one first. I think the Jets probably are ticked off that this story came out, because usually Brady doesn't need anything extra and the Patriots don't need anything extra. And all of a sudden, for other teams, this is a distraction. This just allows them to get focused even more. I think, if anything, it helps them.
Without question. And I think that's one of the minor things that keeps them focused for Monday night, because the Buffalo Bills keep winning, number one, in their division. And number two, the Jets are coming off a win against the Dallas Cowboys at home. So they have energy, they have some momentum, they have some confidence. They're playing at home on Monday Night Football. So there's an opportunity for them to make a big statement if they win this game. And I think good teams like the Patriots go down there and win these games, because they got to keep up with the Joneses. They got to keep that lead over the Bills in their own division. And they're seeing what's happening with Houston. They're seeing what's happening with Kansas City. And they know that they got to keep that lead that they've built up.
So let me give you this scenario where the Jets compete in this game and possibly win. First of all, they're able to run the football. Le'Veon Bell has the best game that they've been expecting from all year. Darnold plays like an emerging quarterback that he just might be. And that defense, all of a sudden, doesn't look as great as it's been all year. That's number one. Number two, on the other side of the ball, with Rex Burkhead out, with Josh Gordon out, there's a domino effect to all that. Philip Dorsett is back. Yet, like in the Buffalo game, like other games, the offense struggles, it starts to struggle a little bit more, and all of a sudden every point matters, and that's how the Jets can compete. Is that how this game plays out?
I think what we saw with the Giants game is that the depth really rears its ugly head. You know, when Josh got hurt in the Giants game, you saw that they're running with Gunner out there on the wide out, and they got guys not coming in and out of the games. They're basically keeping the same formations in there for the rest of the half. That's very irregular, because they do like to change the personnel. So the lack of depth is a big key, and you don't know if Philip Dorsett tweaks that hamstring again, then what? Now all of a sudden you're left with guys who have not performed on the big stage, being asked to perform on the big stage tomorrow night.
Two other NFL things. Let's talk about a bigger picture. Who's the second best team in the AFC right now I'm not asking who's going to be in the AFC Championship game in Foxborough. Who's the second best team in the AFC right now?
You know, you spoiled it because you told me who you're going with, and I said, well, interesting. I'm not going to agree with you because I still think it's the Chiefs. I still think the Chiefs are the best team. I do. I still think that the Chiefs across the board are the best team. It showed what they did. I understand Denver is who Denver is, but to go on the road and win that game that they knew they had to win, even when they lost their quarterback, says a lot. And I also think that they are going to position themselves. I know they got a tough slate here over the next month, so my position might change 4 weeks from now. But if they're able to get through this gauntlet, even 3-1, and stay near the top of the AFC, I still think that's the toughest team for the Patriots to deal with.
Again, that's the bigger question, the longer one. I'm just asking right now, when you look at their schedule without Patrick Mahomes and you see Green Bay on Sunday Night Football in Kansas City, which, by the way, home field advantage doesn't exist for the Chiefs. There's more ghosts in that stadium for them than anybody else. They're home against Green Bay, home against Minnesota, at Tennessee, and home against the Chargers.
It's tough.
Possibly without Patrick Mahomes for all four of those games.
So who's your team?
My team's the Colts. I think you got to give it up to the Colts. They've already had their bye week. In the last 2 weeks out of the last 3 with the bye in there, they've beaten the Texans at home today, and they've beaten the Chiefs on the road. So I think you got to give it to him. Jacoby Brissett is playing extremely well. He's got 3 picks total, I think, and I think he's got 13 touchdowns.
No respect for the Buffalo Bills from either of us, and that's interesting because they're a team that's 5-1. And when I look at their schedule, and you look at
give us their schedule coming up.
They got the Eagles, they got the Redskins, then they go to the Browns, and then they get the Dolphins again. So I mean, it's not inconceivable. They play the Broncos after that. They could be 10-1, 9-2. They have a gauntlet after that, though. They got to play the Ravens, the Cowboys, the Patriots, and they finish up against the Jets. So it's not going to be easy. It looks like a team that might be in the neighborhood of like 10-6 when all said and done. But we didn't give them any respect, and they're 5-1 with their only loss being to the Pats.
Yeah, and you mentioned the Ravens. They play tough games like they did in Seattle today. NFL trading deadline is a week from this Tuesday. Do you want a tight end or a wide receiver, or do you think Belichick's going to do something else, which he always does? Probably trade for a kicker. I'm serious.
He's got a kicker on the practice squad already. I don't think he'll do that.
He cut him.
I think they did he?
Yeah.
I missed that. Sorry, wasn't paying attention to the kicker wire. That's because he's happy with Nugent, apparently. But the point being, I think he will go try to get a tight end because I think he has some belief that the wide receiving core is going to step up. We haven't seen Ben Watson do anything yet, so we don't know whether or not he's going to be able to contribute. They need some tight end help. And we can talk about pie in the sky Rob Gronkowski. Not going to happen, I don't think.
No.
So I think he's got to bulk up somewhere in the tight end position for sure.
Well, the 3 names that have been out there, you know, since the rumors have started are Stephon Diggs, forget that, after the second great week in a row he had. Emmanuel Sanders in Denver, who is going to get traded, and then Atlanta. I mean, go get both Mohamed Sanu and Austin Hooper, the tight end and the wide receiver. They're 1-6, Tom, and Matt Ryan got hurt today.
What makes your head spin is the type of return a lot of these players get in a trade, and the fact that the Patriots don't really prioritize the draft as much as other teams do, and he finagles his picks so well that you would think they could work a trade by trading some draft picks for 2020 and 2021.
All right, a year ago at this time, we were gearing up to go to Los Angeles for the World Series, the Red Sox and Dodgers.
How things have changed so quickly.
Well, we're gearing up for the World Series again now, but it's going to be Houston and Washington. I think it's going to be a great World Series. I really do. I'll give you my pick right away. I think Houston's empowered. I think they have been forever. It's not just the fact they won 107 games and are the #1 seed and all that stuff, but I just think they're empowered. I really do, and I think that Altuve moment in Game 6 last night, after DJ Lemahieu, you know, we'll talk about him in a minute, but I just think Houston's going to win.
All right, I'll go Nationals. I think that sometimes you get a team like the Minnesota Twins back in 1987 who just kind of capture lightning in a bottle and they get hot at the right time, and I think the Nationals are that team. What's going to hurt them is the fact that they swept the NLCS. We've seen that happen before where a team does sweep the championship series, sits for as long as the Nationals are going to have to sit, and then try to play. That's a difficult thing to do.
So give me the one key guy on the Nationals who makes a name for himself this postseason.
Well, Zim,
this World Series.
Well, Zimmerman finally getting there. He's a good story.
Yeah.
You'd like to see him perform, but it's going to come down to their pitching. I think Scherzer's got the experience. He signed the big contract there. He's going to have to come up big. And Strasburg, if he's able to be as good as he was before he was unfortunately touched up in the NLCS once, I mean, those two guys are boom, boom, the two keys to that series. Almost like Schilling and Johnson back in 01 against the Yankees.
Yeah.
If you get two guys to win 2 games apiece, that's championship.
Well, you look at this series. It starts on Tuesday night right here on Fox, and you look at the starting pitching top 3. They're the best top 3 in all of baseball on both sides. They really are. Cole, Verlander, and Greinke. And I put Cole ahead of Verlander the way he's pitching right now.
He's been awesome.
Scherzer, Strasburg, and Corbin. and Corbin has been phenomenal.
Are you telling me it's going to be fast games? We're going to see fast games in the World Series?
Well, it's all going to come down to the bullpen. Last year it came down to the Red Sox bullpen at times, but it was starters in the bullpen. And it'll be interesting because Roberto Osuna and Fernando Rodney are both heart attacks. So I'm interested in this World Series.
A lot of old Tigers in this World Series.
I got to give it up to you, though. At the beginning of the year, we were talking about it during the preseason, and you went crazy when the Yankees got DJ Lemahieu. And I was like, the Red Sox have Dustin Pedroia coming back. How'd that work out, Butch? But that moment last night, the career moment for him, DJ Lemahieu, I was watching that live when he hit the home run to tie the game in the top of the 9th inning. On the road in Game 6 of the ALCS, Tom, I knew he was going to hit a home run. He's been the best player for the Yankees all year, DJ LeMahieu.
They're MVP. And in essence, in actuality, this goes back to last year's trading deadline, because when you think about the fact that Dave wanted to add a second baseman, he basically had a choice between Kinsler, who he signed, or LeMahieu, because they were both in a similar situation. And I think what he thought was that he wouldn't be able to get LeMahieu here for the 2019 season, and he had the past relationship with Kinsler. But just think if they had gotten DJ last year, he got the taste of Boston. He was here on the East Coast, first big-time team he was playing for. Would have had a good opportunity to maybe sign him in the offseason. The Yankees didn't sign him cheap, but they didn't sign him long-term either, and he made such a huge difference this year.
Let's finish with quick thoughts about the Celtics and Bruins. Interesting weeks for both. Celtics open up their season on Wednesday night in Philadelphia against Al Horford and the Sixers. I think they're going into the season as the third best team at best in the East. I think the Bucks are better, and I think the Sixers are better.
They're a team, in my opinion, that cannot afford to have happen to them what happened last year. Obvious statement. What I mean specifically is can't start slow. Don't give me this, we're getting used to each other, we have to figure it out. This team has to hit the ground running. So I think the practice time and the training camp and all the practices that they've had over the last couple of weeks have to pay off, because they got to hit the ground running, and they got to prove that they can keep up near the top of the Eastern Conference from the outset, because you don't want to be digging like the last year's team was digging for the entire season. They got to turn it on. They got to make a run. It's going to happen down the stretch here. Get it going early.
How about the Bruins week and their next two games? Tuesday night, Toronto comes in town after beating them in overtime on the road after a tough game against Tampa. And then Saturday night, coming up, the St. Louis Blues' only trip to Boston. Big week for the Bruins.
It's going to be awesome. They've been a fun team to watch. It's been great to see Pasta emerge, and it makes you think of just how injured that thumb might have been last year, how big a deal the thumb injury was, because he was basically invisible in the postseason. So for him to come out this year and even admit that he wanted to play better than he did last year. They've been entertaining out of the gate, and that hasn't always been the case with the Bruins. It's sometimes taken some time to say for that team to catch on, and I think this team has already captured the attention of the Boston sports scene.
Tomorrow you'll be in the Meadowlands reporting on the Patriots.
Should be fun.
Safe travels.
Thank you, sir.